Print Fail Friday, episode 15, where apparently milk is a color of resin. Things don't always stick to build plates, and sometimes nozzles apparently love to fall off, and I like to troll a little bit. Let's have some fun. Print Fail Friday, episode 15, let's get into it. Thanks for joining us once again on Print Fail Friday, episode 15. As I said before, this is going to be a bit of a trolling episode, so if you guys actually want to get to the real help, you can skip to this point, and it will also be a chapter down below. But let's have a little bit of fun, and let's get at it. Electrician cut the power just in time for my print to be finished. That looks like a decent print. I don't see anything wrong, do you? Who's that Pokemon? It's Squirtle. No, it's Pikachu! No, that's some spaghetti. That's also spaghetti at different heights. We're gonna get back to this one. I'm curious to know what the hell happened here, because, rough. Resin print repeatedly fails, seems to hit a layer where the outside support stopped printing. Have you tried drying your filament? Try drying your filament. Let me know how that works out. So is the projector toast? No, it's bread. It's bread. Still new at resin printing. Can somebody help me understand what went wrong here? It didn't stick. You're welcome. Hi, someone please help fix this problem. I've been getting poor quality prints since purchasing my first resin printer, the Creality LD002H. I've tried 2 different resins. They're both producing defective models. Thin film forms around the models and sometimes even drops into the vat. Very little detail overall. Supports are difficult to remove. I have leveled the build plate, used a piece of paper, replaced FEP film, and cleaned the LCD using IPA and a microfiber. I would imagine the issue is either with my settings or the printer itself. Thanks for your time. Lifting distance 5, lifting speed 50, retraction 150, 9-second exposure, bottom layers at 40. I recommend going with the 2% variant rather than the whole milk. I recognize the 2% is basically milk flavored water, but if you like LaCroix, maybe you'll like 2%. I see that you're using the full fat here, and that might be a problem. Yeah, I might look away from the full fat. Riddle me this, Batman. Oh, looks like you got some great stalactites. And some sort of weird growth on those stalactites. Hey, keep up the great printing. Okay, that's about as trolly as I can be. It's really bothering me not to actually solve these problems. Because, like, I recorded all the trolls, now I'm going to go back and record all the non-trolls. It's really weird to not, like, get in this. But yeah, alright, let's actually get into these. Electrician cut the power just in time for my print to be finished. It's a Grogu, and the head is missing. Which might be a lot of fun to like print different heads and put on it. But this one's simple. Get a uninterrupted power supply like a UPS. The brand APC seems to be quite popular. We use an APC 3000 for all the printers behind me, and for the resin printers and my computer, which are in front of me, we use an APC 1500 because there's less draw. And the likelihood of me running every one of the resin printers right when the power goes out is pretty low. This sucks. We've been there before. I'm looking at you, Uncle Jesse. You keep having print failures because your power goes out. Get a UPS. And for all of you that don't have great power, UPSs are pretty cheap. An APC 1500 runs somewhere in the $185 range, I believe. We'll put one that I found on Amazon here, and we'll link to one in the description if you want to get it. But a 1500 can run a basic 3D printer for quite a bit, like 30 or 40 minutes, no problem. And printers with power recovery, like power loss detection, can save you sometimes. But if you're printing a material that, when it gets cold, will come off the bed, it's not going to help you at all. So materials like PLA, totally fine. You might get lucky, you might not. But materials like PETG, particularly ones like ABS, if the power goes out, that print's screwed. And it sucks, but that's why we get big battery packs and we put ancillary extra battery packs onto them. APC offers the ability to plug in extra battery packs. We did that, so we have lots and lots of runtime. Who's that Pokemon? I still like that. It's Pikachu! Speaking of Pikachu, I gotta bring Greenfield out here. Because Victoria decided she needed to go off and do important things. you know, after we had our bit of our disagreement earlier in the week. But this is a Raise 3D printer, and I believe this is a dual extruder, and we can see my 1mm nozzle stuck in the print. I was gonna say, it looks like you had a problem, and the filament is way larger here than it is over here. And yep, you can see it. There's the nozzle. So we saw this last week where a nozzle came off in the middle of a print, and I've actually had this happen too, but not where it came unscrewed. I had a nozzle completely break during a print, and it's not that it ran into something, it's that the nozzle just failed. I don't know if maybe we were running some sort of abrasive through it and didn't know. Still don't know why that ever happened. It was on our TAS 6, which is actually directly above and behind me. We don't run it much because it's way too darn loud to run while we're filming. But yeah, there's really no good way to solve this. I mean, looking at that, the threads are all still there, so likely the nozzle wasn't torqued down appropriately. This thing was likely leaking pretty bad before all of this occurred. And of course, the yellow might still work, but without the blue working, you're going to have a problem. Thankfully, these printers are enclosed, and this is one of those benefits of having an enclosed printer. The mess is also contained. So, not really a great way to solve this other than make sure when you do nozzle swaps that everything is tight, and every now and then go back and make sure your nozzles are tight. But the E3D Revo, I'm told, should be available for pre-order. I got some news that it should be available for pre-order by the time this video goes out. And the Revo serves to stop problems like this from occurring because you don't have to put the nozzle on when it's hot. You actually, I don't believe you even can. But we're going to get ourselves a couple of Revos, and we're going to try all that out ourselves. So make sure you get subscribed if you want to see that. And we did cover the Revo in a couple of different videos. I don't have one yet, but we went over a lot of the marketing material for it. So if you guys want to see that, we'll card to that video up there for you to take a look at. This one blows. I've been there before. There's really no good way of solving it. It looks like this might have been TPU. I don't really know what these two materials are. Resin printer repeatedly fails, seems to hit layer where the outside supports stop printing. Let's take a look at what we got. Unsure why this is occurring. Using a photon mono plant-based resin, I've tried 2 different bats to see if it is an FEP issue, but it seems like it isn't. Cure time is 3 seconds, layer height is 50 microns, lift speed is 1 second, retraction speed is 1.5, light off time is 8 seconds. Could it be a non-greased area on the rod? My friend seems to think it's software. Try this print 3 times now, sliced differently each time. A couple with lychee and a couple with Chitu. Any help would be greatly appreciated. I would run some calibration prints. Plant-based resin, for some reason, seems to be really picky. Like, really, really picky. It needs to kind of know where it's at. And depending on who you bought your resin from, they might provide you with some stock settings that you can use, but do make certain that because you have a mono printer, I think 3 seconds might be a little high. On our monos, we use like 2.7 or lower. So go ahead and run some of those calibration test prints before you really go hard in the paint after a model that you really, really want. This is a pain in the ass, and there's really not a great way to figure this out. First off, ditch Chitu. I am a massive lychee fanboy. They don't pay me to say that, but maybe one day they will. But their software is amazing, and they actually just released a new version supporting now the Mars 3 and a couple of the CTB V4. But if you want to see the brand new lychee slicer explained, I'm happy to do it. Just make sure you leave me a comment down below. And hey, while you're down there, make sure to lightly tap that like button and just absolutely slap the subscribe button like it owes you money. Greatly appreciate your support. This individual could use some support. Oh, that's bad. It's so terrible. But yeah, I would look at running like the Amerilabs Toontown print. Uncle Jesse actually just put out a video all about resin calibration. We'll put it on screen here. We'll card to it, and I'll have it linked in the description for you guys as well. Go take a look at that one. That was actually a really good video on resin calibration and some models that he found. We're going to do one of our own as we start testing out some very specific new resins that are coming soon. But yeah, run some calibration things before you really go full bore on this. And also make certain that your resin is well mixed. If it's not, you need to make sure that you mix that resin thoroughly. We've actually found that the silicone makeup brushes, they look like kind of a wedge shape, are awesome for this because the resin doesn't stick to it. It is non-porous, so you have no issues with porosity, and they're pretty cheap. You can get them from any big box retailer, or you can go into your favorite local makeup store and, like me, potentially look a little bit odd saying, I'm looking for brushes. That's a completely different story, all about me having to make up excuses as to why I need the softest brush in the makeup store, and it was actually for full color 3D printing. Because telling them the real reason would have just raised more questions than the less you ask, the easier this is. Let's get on to the next one. So, is the projector toast? Maybe. And this is not a projector, so technically, the projector, which is the light source, is actually perfectly fine. I would hedge a bet that your screen is bad, or that your file is bad. It says any cubic photon S, flexible exposure time 7 seconds, bottom exposure time 60, and bottom layers 8. The photon S should be an LCD printer, so this is kind of right where it needs to be. It says I've been struggling with this printer and I cannot seem to get any resins to print. This also occurs with my Anycubic green resin. When I see this, is my projector toast? The machine is a few years old, so that would make sense. A great way to test to see if your LCD, and it's not the projector, it's the LCD. Great way to check if the LCD is toast is to pull the vat out, put a regular sheet of paper on there, and go ahead and start a print. Remove the build plate as well, and just look. The paper is going to keep a lot of that UV light from coming through, but check to make sure that it's only exposing what you want to see. Chances are it's not. Now, when these type of LCDs go bad, they tend to burn holes, and you'll just see it as random holes in your parts. This might be just a cable being a little bit loose that you might need to reseat. But for these older resin printers, new screens are something like 40 or 50 bucks, when the mono version is like 200 or less. And there's just like a part of me that can't validate it to just fix this printer versus donating it to a local makerspace that's willing to put the time and money into it so they can have one, where it might make more sense for you to just go ahead and get a new machine. It's a shame that these machines are disposable, but just remember, before you donate it, before you do anything regarding disposal, that resin is toxic, and you have to make sure that you do it right, because otherwise you're kind of risking stuff. Just be safe about it. Did a whole video on resin toxicity. We'll card to all that up there so you guys can take a look as well. It's not a resin thing. This is never a resin thing. I've had this happen on one of our original Elegoo Marses, and I found that reseating the screen connector seemed to fix it. The first couple of layers would look weird like this, and eventually that screen did die. Actually, that printer is right here. I'm using it for a product development thing that we're working on. So if you guys want to see some really cool product development stuff, again, stay tuned, because it's going to be coming up here in the new year. But yeah, I would check to make sure that screen is still functional. Chances are that screen might be dying, if not already dead, but reseating the connector inside might solve your problem. Still new at resin printing. Can somebody help me understand what went wrong here? Your base layers were not long enough, or your plate is not level, and your support base layers did not stick to the build plate itself. Now, a thing to note here, I don't know if this is a clean part, but you don't have gloves on. Please change that. I would prefer that you wear gloves when you handle resin build plates, because resin is toxic. Because it's friggin' true. Just like my segue to our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. If you struggle with 3D printing and you are at wit's end, come to the experts at 3D Musketeers, where we have over 30 machines across quite a few different technologies to help you make awesome. Whether you are an inventor that really wants to get something out of their head and into their hands and not have the ghost of Billy Mays talk about it on late night television before you can get it to market, hit us up at 3D Musketeers. Even if you're a small business owner, personal injury attorney, even medical 3D printing, we do quite a bit here at 3D Musketeers. And if you want to support these efforts directly, you can do so at patreon.com/3D Musketeers, with tiers starting as low as $1. We're going to have channel memberships coming soon as well. It's taking me a little bit longer than usual. For some reason, we got crazy busy over the past couple of weeks, so I'm hoping soon to have channel memberships up and running so you guys can support us directly through YouTube. But yeah, let's get back to it here. I've been here before. I would first look at re-leveling the build plate. Let's see if we have any print settings in here. Oh, well, there you go. It's a Mars 2 Pro, but the bottom exposure is only 15 seconds. I would up that to probably 30 seconds. It looks like your 2-second layer time seems fine. Most of your supports are printing from what I can tell. This is the first print that failed. I think you might have just gotten lucky. This is a pretty big print when we look at how much surface area it has. So chances are when it started printing here, the surface area and surface tension was pulling it away, causing it to have that failure. I think you just got lucky. And like this commenter is saying, it could be that the temperature has dropped, and because of that, the resin is more viscous, and you need to up your exposure when your resin is cold. So if you don't live in a place like Florida, please make sure that you have it inside of a temperature-controlled environment, or that you're compensating for the temperature. Although I do say that when it's 8 degrees centigrade and 46 degrees Fahrenheit outside right now, but it is also, it's late. It's really late. Hi, someone please help fix this problem. We went over this before. Milk-flavored water. But the real thing that I care about here is the exposure. The Creality LD002H, last I checked, is a mono printer. Fairly certain it is. It is. This individual is using exposure times for an LCD printer. This is a mono printer that needs like maybe 2.5 seconds or so worth of exposure. This is your problem. You are grossly overexposing. And yep, there you go. Now, they're using a 13-second base layer. I would go higher than that. I'm okay with overexposing my base layers personally, because I really, really want to make sure that it works out well. Now, we have someone here saying that they really need to update the exposure times on the bottles, and that this person mistakenly listened to the bottles. Do not trust the times that come on bottles. Run, test, prints to verify exposure settings. There are some great test prints by Soraya Tech that take like 20 freaking minutes to print. Run the damn exposure tests, because ultimately that is going to save your bacon and keep you from hitting your head against the wall for stuff like this. This is absolutely an exposure issue. Cut that thing down to like 2.5 seconds, and you're going to see much better prints. Riddle me this, Batman. We've got a couple of successful prints, a couple of failed prints, and the one thing that I can see here that is absolutely a problem is support. There is nowhere near enough support material on this print at all. Like 10x more is what's needed minimum. I highly recommend that you make sure you are getting the appropriate exposure times. Again, run exposure tests. I'm now graced by the cat, so I guess we can continue now. 2, make sure that you're using enough support material. This is nowhere near enough. This is not like FDM 3D printing, where you are easily able to just have a little bit of support material and it can bridge things. Imagine resin cannot bridge at all, because generally speaking, it can't. And you really need to have a ton more support here. I would look at using a program like Lychee Slicer until you get used to it, and then you're able, if you do want to move back to Chi 2 or a different program, to go ahead and do that. Lychee has great algorithms for rotating the models so that they're best arranged appropriately, as well as pretty decent, although sometimes, in my opinion, a little overzealous support algorithms. Again, they did just release a brand new version of Lychee Slicer, so again, let me know if you want us to go over that. But yeah, it seems like the trend for this week is run exposure tests, so you don't overexpose, you don't underexpose, and make sure you have appropriate amounts of support. That's really all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a troll in the beginning. I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I just didn't want the entire episode to be me kind of making fun of people. That just seems kind of mean and not really giving useful advice. But let me know if you think I got anything wrong down in those comments below. I will see you all in the next one. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. But Lychee has great auto... Hey, cut it out. Hey. I wait till that's done. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and a massive thank you goes out to our patrons, whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. If you want to support the channel directly, you can do so at patreon.com/3dmusketeers and help us do the awesome things that we do multiple times a week. Without the patrons, none of this would be possible whatsoever. Right below me will be the entire Print Fail Friday series, where you can take a look at other failures and potentially how to solve them. And right next to it will be the Sanjay series. If you don't know the man, the maker, the legend, Sanjay Mortimer, you should go take a listen. Of course, Sanjay is unfortunately no longer with us, and this was one of his final interviews. But this man and the team over at E3D has democratized 3D printing, and you'd be remiss if you don't at least hear a bit of his story from a tiny little YouTuber like us. I will see you guys down in those comments, and in the next one, don't forget to leave a like, and take care.